All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really dangerous paradox that a lot of entrepreneurs fall into. It's this belief that you are your company's greatest asset. I mean, think about it. If you've ever thought, this place couldn't survive a week without me, well, you might actually be its single biggest risk.
Sound familiar? I bet it does. It's that classic mindset of the owner who just has to be there for everything. And look, on the surface, it feels great, right? It feels like a strength, a sign of how committed you are. But here's the twist we're going to explore. That very belief, it might be the real reason for all the chaos you're desperately trying to control.
Yeah, we've got a name for this, the firefighter manager. You know the drill. It's just a state of constant reaction. A problem flares up in sales, boom, you're there putting it out. A client has an issue, you're grabbing the fire hose and rushing over. You get to be the hero, the one person who can solve it all. But here's the problem, and it's a big one. When you're the only one putting out the fires, you're also the person standing right in the middle of a business that is always on fire.
It's funny, so many business owners go to consultants and they say something like, just speed up my steam engine. You know, they want to go faster, they want to grow, and they think the answer is just more personal effort, frantically shoveling more coal into the furnace, just working harder and harder. But what if the problem isn't the coal? What if the real issue is the engine itself?
Okay, so let's really diagnose this thing. This role, this rescuer-in-chief, I get it. It feels powerful. But it's really just a symptom of a much deeper issue. To really get a handle on the chaos, we've got to look at what's happening right underneath the surface.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because there's some serious psychology at play here. Let's be honest. Being the rescuer, it comes with some pretty nice perks for the ego. You feel important, you feel needed, you feel like you're the best. But then, you look at the business's reality. While you're feeling great, growth is totally stalled out. While you feel needed, your employees are feeling completely disempowered. And while you feel in control, the business is just in a constant state of underlying chaos. And look, this behavior, it isn't just about ego, right? It's actually rooted in some very real, very understandable fears. I'm talking about the fear that if you take your eye off the ball for 1 second, things are going to break. The fear that a client is going to have a bad experience. The fear that stuff just won't get shipped. It all comes from this deep-seated belief that no one can do it better than me. So you're not just trying to be the hero. You are genuinely terrified of what's going to happen if you stop. Okay, but all this constant firefighting, it's not just stressful for you. It actually creates this ripple effect of chaos throughout the entire business. And it has a real, tangible cost that can be, frankly, devastating. And it turns out just relying on your own heroic effort has a surprisingly low ceiling. For a lot of businesses, especially service-based ones that are running on chaos, the breaking point hits at around client number 6. Now, why 6? Seems random, right? Well, it's because that's usually the point where one single person just can't hold all the details in their head anymore. Wires get crossed, promises get forgotten, and suddenly, all those fires you were trying to prevent start popping up everywhere, all at once, because of the way you're running things. And this chart, it shows the fallout perfectly. When you don't have clear systems in place, mistakes are inevitable. And those mistakes, they lead directly to lost revenue. That's a huge one. But maybe even worse is the reputational damage. That stuff spreads faster than you can believe. And what about inside the company? Well, your best people get totally frustrated and they leave. I mean, who wants to work in a place where you can never really succeed without the boss swooping in to save the day? And you know, a huge part of this chaos just comes down to communication. In a business without systems, instructions are almost always verbal, right? They're given on the fly. But think about it. What you say, what your employee hears, and what their brain actually processes, those can be 3 completely different things. It's the classic game of broken telephone, and it pretty much guarantees that tasks are going to be misunderstood and done wrong. And please never, ever forget this. The cost of one screw-up is never just one client. In pretty much any industry, your customers talk to each other. They know each other. So one bad experience, one botched delivery, and you don't just lose that one contract. Oh no, you damage your reputation with their entire network. It's true what they say, good news travels slow, but bad news, It spreads like wildfire. Okay, wow. That was a lot of bad news. But here's the good news. There is absolutely a way out of this cycle. And the solution isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about a really fundamental shift in how you think about your role and your business as a whole. So if the problem is chaos, what's the solution? The answer is actually pretty simple. It's order. But listen, I'm not talking about the kind of order that comes from you shouting instructions all day. I'm talking about the kind of order that's built right into the DNA of your business. I'm talking about stable, repeatable systems. I know the word systems can sound really big and intimidating, but it's actually pretty simple when you break it down. A system just means that everyone on your team knows exactly what their job is. It means you've actually mapped out the entire customer journey, from the first time they hear about you to the final purchase. It means that the really important tasks get done the same way every single time, no matter who's doing them. And maybe most importantly, it means all of this crucial information lives somewhere everyone can access it, not just in your head. And here is the golden rule for creating these systems. When you're writing down a process, your number one goal is clarity. I'm talking absolute, undeniable clarity. Forget the industry jargon. Forget assuming people just know things. You need to write it so simply that a 5-year-old could understand it and follow the steps. If you can pull that off, you kill that broken telephone effect for good.
This right here, this is probably the single biggest mindset shift you have to make. You have to stop thinking about your job as just telling people what to do next. Instead, start thinking about your job as building the machine that does the work, building the processes, the instructions, the systems. You're no longer a player on the field, you're the architect of the entire stadium.
Okay, I hear you. Building an entire stadium sounds pretty overwhelming. So where on earth do you even begin? Well, the good news is, this whole path to getting your business systemized starts with one single, powerful, and honestly, transformative activity. This is it. This is the turning point. You can hire all the consultants you want, you can buy the fanciest software on the market, but I'm telling you, nothing will truly change until you, the owner, personally sit down and write out the job descriptions and the core step-by-step processes for your team. This is where the magic happens. And this journey, it almost always follows the same pattern. Step 1 is resistance. You're thinking, I don't have time for this. Why can't they just figure it out? Then comes step 2, the struggle. You actually start writing and you suddenly see all the gaps, not just in their knowledge, but in your own thinking. That struggle leads to step 3, the aha moment. For the first time, you really truly understand what people are doing day to day. And that aha moment leads to the final step, true empowerment. Now you can actually teach, delegate, and control things effectively. Because it all boils down to one fundamental truth. You cannot manage what you have not defined. It's that simple. Until a process is written down, it's really just a suggestion, isn't it? But the moment it's on paper, it becomes real. Now you can demand it, you can control it, and finally, you can actually improve it. And so that brings us to the one big question every owner has to face. Are you building a business, or are you just building a more stressful job for yourself? Because the path of the rescuer manager, that just leads to a job. But the path of the system builder, well, that's how you create a real business, an asset that can run, grow, and thrive, even when you're not there to put out the fires.